What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Stranglers and Anglers MMA podcast. I'm here with my co-host James. I'm JJ. Tonight we're going to be breaking down UFC 299. We got Sean O'Malley defending his title against Marlon Cheeto Vera. This is actually a rematch between the two. Their first matchup sort of ended in a fluky, some would say leg injury. And so they're running it back in Miami for Sugar Sean's first title defense. James, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. Ready to talk about the big card.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, you've been a long time Sean O'Malley supporter, so you're gonna kick us off on this main event. It only
Yeah.
right, dude. We got, like we said, Sean O'Malley taking on Marlon Vera, 135-pound title. James, how do you think this fight is going, man?
Yeah, dude. Probably one of the few fighters that I've watched every fight from the beginning to the end. And it's like almost right when I really started becoming a diehard UFC fan. I was a UFC fan when Uriah Faber fought back in those days, but very casual, just like the white guy with cornrows and walking out to California Love. And then Um, McGregor popped off, and that got me on the I was on the McGregor. I'm gonna say I was early on the McGregor hype train, but definitely on the McGregor hype train. And then it was UFC 199. I think it was with the one where Bisping knocked out Rockhold.
Sure, sure.
That's when I became a hardcore fan. And then as that happened, that's right around when maybe it's a year later or a little less than that when Sean O'Malley popped on the scene. So I've just followed his whole career. And yeah, dude, I was coming into this podcast just wholeheartedly believing, I'm looking at this fight neutrally. I really like Cheeto Vera. He's one of my favorite fighters. Um, and I'm like, God, if Sean O'Malley loses, Cheeto will win. And then I'm like, I'm kind of cool with that. I'm a big fan of Cheeto, blah, blah. And then just this week alone, we're only on Wednesday, right? The internet and the amount of freaking Peter Yan profile pictures and Islam Makhachev profile pictures. I don't know why it's always Islam Makhachev or Habib fans or whatever, just destroying Sean O'Malley in the comments section and stuff. I'm just like, that's it, dude. I'm back on the track. I'm going for him 100% now.
Nice.
So like it's just like the I gotta stay out of the comment sections. That's rule number one. But it's like this is a fight as far as how the fight goes. I think I think as this got closer, I thought it was gonna be just O'Malley piecing up Cheeto, but as it's gotten closer and then watching a couple fights of Cheeto and a couple fights of O'Malley, man, it's really hard to count out Cheeto in what's probably gonna be a striking fight because sort of the way you neutralize Cheeto is outpace him striking wise, like land more than he does. And then when it seems like he's gaining momentum, you shoot the takedown, you kind of hold him there, or you put him up against the fence, you hold him there, and you just kind of try to grind out that round and get back to like the jab and the low and like just point fighting him. With O'Malley, it's like it's probably going to be a stand-up fight, and it's really hard to just count out Cheeto in 5 rounds because he's so defensively sound and he's so good at landing that one shot, and his kicks are vicious, dude. And like, yes, I don't think he's gonna hit a perennial nerve again, but I do think he could do some damage to the leg kicks if he comes out with like a similar approach as Pedro Munhoz had against O'Malley. Even though that fight, I thought O'Malley was gonna win that fight because he checked. I did think Munhoz took a way out in that fight, but he did win the first round. Like it's undeniable. Like even though O'Malley defended the kicks well and checked a lot of them, he just spammed leg kicks and it worked. So if Cheeto comes out with like a similar game plan, that could help him a lot. But I think what I'm worried about is this fight kind of being boring, because I could see Cheeto shelling up and playing defense and not really kind of exploding at the ends of rounds and not really being able to catch O'Malley, and
Mhm.
O'Malley staying on the outside and kind of winning one of those like, I've compared his striking to like Adesanya. Um, and I always say the greats, John Jones, Adesanya, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, half their fights are electric, but half their fights are boring. Yeah, maybe not half and half for all of them, but like a lot of GSP's fights were boring. Some of Anderson
Izzy,
Silva.
yeah, Izzy, some or Izzy's gotten shit lately too for his.
Oh, there was
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of Izzy's like he point fights like Cannonier and Yoel and like there's a lot. So yeah, dude. So it's I think it could end up being like that for O'Malley, where it's just kind of like him edging out the round, but just edging out every single round and winning like 4-1, 5-0, and then everyone has more of a reason to shit on O'Malley. But I hope it's not that way. I hope I hope Sean O'Malley puts on like a peak performance. But I'm not counting out Cheeto. I think the odds should probably be closer than they are. So that's yeah. Basically I see the fight, I see it kind of maybe being a slower like point style fighting win for Sean O'Malley.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I like all that. I don't have a whole lot to add. I do think that the 5 rounds is a huge thing because just because of how how powerful Cheeto's leg kicks are and his finishing ability, like wearing on O'Malley, someone who we've seen kind of have issues with like how durable they can be in fights. 5 rounds, with a guy like Cheeto kicking at you for 5 rounds instead of three. I just think those late rounds, is an interesting spot to look at like a Cheeto finish.
Definitely.
Yeah, with that said, I do think O'Malley should probably win this fight. We know styles make matchup, but I just think that, Cheeto kind of he's pretty fortunate to where he is right now. Like he got his ass kicked by Sandhagen and it was a really close fight against Pedro Munoz, right? You look before that, I mean, the dude was on his way to losing a decision to Dominic Cruz until he launched that nuclear head kick at him, right? So like that's what we're saying. Like Cheeto's obviously a dangerous guy. It just feels like, O'Malley's probably a little bit more skilled and I just think Cheeto has probably hit his peak. Yeah, I'm gonna play those late props just because I see that more as his route to victory. But I'm picking Sean O'Malley to win this fight.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned the durability with O'Malley. It's not even just Cheeto, it's just O'Malley. Like
Exactly. Sure. Yeah.
his even Tim Welch, his coach, I think he said to Joe Rogan on a podcast, I don't know which one, but he said training Sean O'Malley, it's like, having a Ferrari. He said it's like, it's the badass super fast car, but the thing breaks down every 5 minutes, or you got to put all this you got to take such good care of it, just to get it to function.
Yeah, and Cheeto's the guy who's fucking abusing the
Exactly.
gas pedal and stuff, right? So it could cause some destruction. So it's definitely an interesting fight, interesting matchup. It just, I'd be lying if I didn't say that it doesn't feel as big of a title fight, I feel like as it could because it feels like Cheeto maybe doesn't really deserve to be there. But
Yeah.
if he goes out and wins, what can you really say?
Right, right. And the thing is with Cheeto, man, he had such momentum when he took that fight against Sandhagen. I'm like, it's such a terrible fight to take, but that's his personality.
Hmm.
Like, because he had so much hype behind him. I'm like, wait for another matchup. You like and potentially wait to see if Sean gets the title because had that Sandhagen fight not even happened, he had so much momentum. I think it was off of Cruz and Font and like all these crazy fights.
Yeah.
It was like they probably would have given it to him anyway, and then there would have been more zest behind it.
Totally. I agree. Um, yeah, cool, man. We'll move on to the co-main event. Co-main event, we got this is the fight I'm most excited about, man. We got
Hmm.
Dustin Poirier taking on Benoit Saint-Denis, 155 pounds, a 5 round co-main event.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I love to see that, dude.
Love that.
James, I'll kick us off here. I got Benoit Saint Denis here. I got him at like minus 135. I think the line is something like he's minus 200, a little minus 230 at some places. I mean, this line has gotten fucking crazy. Um, with that being said, I mean, I think people see the writing on the wall with Dustin Poirier here, especially with how he's been talking lately about like kind of like this could be his retirement, hinting at it, just talking about the end of his career. That's never a good sign you want to see from these guys. Um, Poirier clearly is going to have that stand up boxing advantage, but I mean, Benoit Saint-Denis is insanely durable. He's extremely powerful, and he's just got a huge grappling edge here. Like maybe he doesn't get the fight down to the ground right away or have sustained success on top right away. But I just think over 5 rounds, I think that he's going to be way too much for Poirier. He's going to be way too in his face. He's going to be able to get the fight to the ground and either find a submission or just maybe he finds a finish with ground and pound. Maybe it's a decision. I don't know. I'm just kind of confident that like over 5 rounds, Saint Denis is going to be able to get it done and put a pace on Poirier. With that being said, I wouldn't, Poirier plus 190. I don't blame anyone for taking that shot. I mean, we're talking about the diamond here, a guy who's like proven to be really good and hard to deal with over 5 rounds. It's just that it hasn't been that he hasn't been so dominant against guys who have like a clear grappling edge, right? So, this fight gets to the ground. I think Dustin's in trouble.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah. We got a
Yeah,
sick
dude.
James today, dude.
We
Flu
do. We
game.
have a sick
Yeah.
James. There's gonna be a couple coughing breaks, but especially when you're talking and shit. Um, yeah, dude. So this fight's really interesting to me because Saint Denis, I love him. Like you told me about him. I started watching it, like, paid close attention to him his last couple fights, and I'm like, dude, this guy is fucking awesome. Reminds me a lot of my cousin who was in the military. Very funny. Um, but he so his style, dude, he's very vicious, but he leaves his head open like, he relies on his chin a lot, and he does have one of those. I You could just tell he has one of those crazy mindsets and just crazy where it's like he might not even have a good chin, but he's certainly not going to cover up if you knock him down.
French
Um,
special forces. Yeah.
exactly, dude. Yeah, and so in 5 rounds, it's definitely interesting. I think this fight is going to be fireworks within like the first 2 or 3 minutes. Like it's gonna just the pace is going to be insane, and they might even slow down together, kind of like him, Poirier and Dan Hooker did in that fight. Um, so I think that Saint Denis is going to get hit by Poirier with a couple punches, and he's going to fucking see red like how he does, and I think it's going to cause some like balls to the wall fight. Like I think it's going to be a fight of the night. Um, I have Poirier in this fight. I think Saint Denis is going to leave himself open. The only thing that scares me is the age thing. The 35. I don't know if you've been seeing some of these like memes and stuff about fighters from like 125 to 55 who are like 35 years and older are like 1 in 23 or something.
Yikes.
Or I guess it's in title fights, but still, it's like the win percentage is like 20% when you hit like 35 and older in these divisions. It's insane. So this will totally answer because you had the Fiziev Gaethje fight, which was really close. I thought Gaethje won. I think you thought Fiziev won that fight, or you just said it was very, very close.
Yeah,
Um,
it was. I think Fiziev did win. It was just on this how the scoring system is, but like I
mhm.
don't blame them for giving Gaethje to win. Close fight.
Right, right. So this fight will be our answer to the Poirier, Gaethje, Michael Chandler, Oliver, like everyone fighting each other type deal that's been going on the last 3-ish years.
Yeah.
This will give us our answer, this fight, because if Santini just goes out and rolls over Dustin Poirier, we'll know like the changing of the guard is like it's here. So, because I think stylistically, a prime Poirier matches up really well against Sandini because of Sandini's like, sort of see red when he gets you up against the cage, and when you hit him, he seems to like really want to hit you back, and a lot of the times he does. But Poirier's the kind of a guy where I could see him like seeing that happening and then landing one of those devastating hooks he throws inside the pocket.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's tough. I get when I run this fight through in my head, like I definitely could see where like, Sandini's defense isn't great and he's just getting lit up. At the same time, I mean, Poirier used to fight at 145 and like in Saint Denis' fight against Aleski dos Santos, like he got the shit kicked out of him, right? But he didn't get stopped or whatever. It's pretty crazy to think about. It's just like I have a hard time kind of seeing Poirier being able to finish him. And I just think it's going to be like Saint Denis takes some really big shots, is still there at the end of them, and then starts walking down Poirier and probably finds a choke. That's
Could
kind of
you imagine if Poirier lands like, I mean Poirier, because he's actually naturally a righty, but he stands in a southpaw stance because that was what was he was taught. So
sure.
that's why his right hook is so devastating because that's he's right-handed dominant.
Powerful. Yeah.
And dude, could you imagine Saint Denis like catching Poirier's left cross and right hook and just walking through it and just fucking and like throwing those kicks,
Yeah.
those body kicks, like that would be amazing. This is gonna be an amazing fight. I did not know it's 5 rounds either.
Yeah, and to answer your question, like that's what I think is going to happen. Like I think we're going to be sitting there going, "Oh, oh,"
Mm.
like commentators going to be freaking out as Poirier's landing a few bombs, but like I just don't think he's going to put away Saint Denis. I think it's Saint Denis' time, dude.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we'll see, dude. I would not mind it. This is a fight where I don't mind who the winner or the loser is
Sure.
by any means.
Cool, man. Cool, man. We'll move along. We've got a 170-pound matchup. We've got Kevin Holland taking on Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page making his UFC debut. James, this is like a stylistic fight that I feel like you're gonna like you love. MVP is like I feel like one of your guys that you've wanted to see in the UFC for a long time. So kick us off on this one.
Well, I wanted to see him in the UFC for a long time, but it's about 5 years past when I wanted it to
Yeah.
happen, It's like, um, I think that MVP has maybe one of the most, like, as far as potential goes, like, I don't want to say it's a wasted career because he fought some really good guys and he had some really good fights, but like, man, he spent so many time, like so many fights in Bellator just fighting like cans. And then it was like you watch him when he was like 28, 29, and then all of a sudden he's 32 and he's still fighting cans. And then he finally like gets, a couple big fights. He wins them, he loses them. And then it's kind of like, all right, now he's in the UFC. He's 36 or 37 years old. It's like, so, or whatever he is. I don't know. It just sucks that it's like he's older and like that freak athleticism he had when he was younger is dissipating.
Sure,
He still
sure.
has all the skill, but I mean, he was so freak, like such a freaky build, like 79, 80-inch reach, with that karate style. It's lightning fast. I mean, that seems like impossible to deal with standing up. Um, as for this fight, you said this seems like a stylistically a fight I'd love to watch. Dude, I think this has potential to be the most annoying fight of the year because like I could see both of them like kind of playing the point fighting game and just talking the whole time. And you're like, okay, guys, are we gonna fight or are we just gonna like teep kick and jab and shit? So I could see that happening. Um, I hope it turns out to be for whoever wins, Holland or Page, similar to the Wonder Boy Holland fight where they like win at it.
Yeah, and that's exactly why nobody should bet Kevin Holland here. Don't put your hard-earned money on a guy who has a clear path to victory and is gonna let his opponent up off the ground to try to prove a point. Never again. Yeah, just never.
Yeah.
I don't care. I really don't care about this fight a whole lot. Like you said, MVP being in the UFC like a few years ago would have been a lot more interesting. Um, and I just think Kevin Holland is just I'm so sour on him and his fight IQ that him being in this spot is disgusting. So um, yeah, don't care a whole lot about the fight, but I'm gonna pick MVP based on the pure fact that I think Kevin Holland's a better MMA fighter, but he's gonna do something stupid. So yeah. Moving along, man.
The no bet list. He's on the no bet list.
Yes, and we've talked about that on this podcast, and there's certain guys that I've taken off the no bet list with more data as we've
One
gone
of them
through
might be on
the
this card.
There is, but
Yeah,
let me tell you that Kevin Holland is not someone who will ever again leave the no bet list. He's dug himself a hole too deep.
I feel you.
Um, Cool, man. Well, 170 pounds. Next matchup, we got Gilbert Burns taking on Jack Della Maddalena. Um, James, I think this is a pretty good matchmaking here, if I'm being honest. I think that it's somewhat binary in the sense that if it stays standing, I think Della just probably picks Burns apart, and I'm not like super high on Burns's durability. We've seen this dude get dropped with a jab like how many times now, and Della is like a pretty serious boxer, right? Like if there's anything in his game I do like, it's his jab and his boxing. With that being said, I mean, on the ground, it feels like Burns has a clear path to victory. It's just we don't always see Burns use that path to victory. And sometimes at 170, it just worries me because Burns, a guy who used to fight at 155, it just I don't know, it doesn't seem to have that same like ability to really control anyone who's like halfway decent off their back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was able to do it against like Wonder Boy, Masvidal kind of. I'm pretty sure he got some time in. At the same time, right? There was like some impressive things we saw in his fight with Chimaev. So I don't know. This one's a pass from a betting standpoint for me, and I'm gonna roll with Maddalena here, even though I'd usually be inclined to roll with the grappler. It's just Burns is getting old. He's a little chinny. I think that Della's gonna look a lot bigger in there than him, and yeah, it just feels like to me the UFC would they're giving Della a spot that's like a favorable matchup in my opinion. So
Yeah, I actually thought you were gonna go, like, say this is a good matchup for Burns. So yeah, I'm with you though with the JDM. I think that the way that JDM fights, that boxing like tight guard that just walks forward. Burns, his striking is good because he has a ton of power, but he kind of times and wings out shots. And when you have a fighting style like JDM, where he kind of sees everything coming and he just keeps the high guard and absorbs the damage a little bit, just to that's why he's got no nose, just to like stay in that pocket. That's where I see like Burns getting in trouble, is Burns winging like giant overhand into a left hook. They both get deflected, parried, blocked, whatever. And then JDM just sticks a jab right in your face. Like that is just the worst, thing to have. Like that's the worst thing to deal with. And because then you exert all this energy and then you just get a stiff jab right to the nose. So I like that's kind of how I see that fight happening, and then I see that setting up JDM's body shots and his like straight punches to the face, to the head. Not necessarily that he'll get the finish because Burns is just as tough as they come, but that's sort of how I see the stand-up fight going. The ground game will be interesting because I definitely thought JDM's takedown defense was a lot better, but I forget who he fought in his last fight, or maybe it was a fight before that. It just didn't look as good as I thought it was. And for a guy who has a striking style like his, where he's very flat-footed and he kind of walks forward, but he like is defensive a little bit, I feel like he should have a little better takedown defense than he's shown. So I don't know. But like what you said with Burns, it's like he fought at 155 and he looks like a guy who moved up. Like, even though he's having success, size-wise, he looks like a guy who moved up.
yeah, and Burns doesn't like chain wrestle, like you
No.
probably you said you thought I'd be on the Burns side here, but like it's probably because I had a big bet on Sean Brady when he was scheduled to fight JDM. I think that's a nightmare matchup for him for JDM because like Sean Brady is gonna come at you shooting takedowns the entire time, you know what I mean? Burns, if he doesn't I don't think he like grapples offensively as much as like you'd like because his gas tank isn't as good. That's just kind of his build. I don't think he can push that type of pace, that a guy like Colby or Sean Brady could. And that's just why I think that, maybe Burns gets him down early or something, but if he doesn't finish him, I just don't think he's gonna be able to rely on continually taking JDM down. I think he's just going to eat too many shots trying to get close.
Right, right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm on the JDM side. I actually already put a bet in. I have
Nice.
a few. I have
Yeah.
a few. Yeah, because I finally got my damn
Yeah,
FanDuel
we're
account
back,
back,
baby. Come on.
bro. Oh
Yeah.
my god, we could do a whole podcast episode on that. It was the biggest nightmare ever. Also, we are spin drifting today.
Hmm.
Cheers, my friend.
Great minds think alike, dude. We're on
Yeah.
the same drift and
But
we're
yeah,
on
we're on
the
the JDM train, and I'm interested, very interested to see if he gets the dub, who he fights next, who they're gonna match him up with. Are they gonna
yeah.
stiff Bilal instead
Yeah,
of?
that's interesting, right? Like you think you got to think the UFC is going to go back to Australia at some point this year. Like they probably want him to win, and then they could put him either as the co-main or
Yeah,
the main if it ends up being like a title shot that they want to push him to, you know.
right. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Cool, man. Moving along, we got a 125-pound matchup. I'm sorry, 135-pound matchup, James. We've got the return of one of this podcast's favorite fighters. We've got Piotr Yan taking on Yadong Song. James, this is a really exciting matchup. It kind of sucks that these guys are both fighting each other because they're both awesome fighters, and like you hate to see one of them have to lose, you know? But that's just the nature of this game. Can you kick us off on this one, man?
Yeah, dude, this it's you're like, can you kick us off? I'm like, I have no idea what this fight's gonna look like because they're both so fast. Like, I think Jan's faster, but I think Yadong's more explosive and powerful. Even though Jan's really powerful, you know what I'm saying? But they both are like downloaders, you know. Like Yadong kind of takes his time before he really starts exploding into things, and same with Peter Yan. So I don't know how this fight's gonna look and who's gonna lead the dance. That's gonna be interesting because Piotr Yan, he always is like marching forward against his opponents, and Yadong is just a big, fast, explosive Asian man. And I don't know what if he's going to be the one pushing Yan back, and I don't know how good Yan is on the back foot. Really, only time we saw it really was against Marab, but obviously there's a lot of stipulations with like, was he injured? I thought it looked like he got caught with a calf kick, and then he was like, you know, really late on his wrestling defense in that fight. It was just a weird fight.
Yeah, dude, we talked about we were texting about that when it happened during the fight. We were like,
Mm-hmm.
"This John's leg look fuck to you." Is like
Yeah,
we were talking about it as it was happening. Yeah, clearly wasn't 100% going in, but continue. Sorry.
yeah. So with this fight, I mean, it's just going to be really interesting. I could see it being a very like slow pace, like them feeling each other out, and then just being like Yoel Romero explosions. Like just when they both decide they're gonna strike, I think they're both gonna decide at the same time, and it's gonna be whoever catches who and has the big moments in the rounds.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I see the fight going. Um, this will kind of prove to see if Jan has lost confidence or if he is, gonna make another run. Because he's
Yeah.
had like really weird losing streak. One of the weirdest careers, when you really look at it. He has like one legit loss, which is against Marab. And even that one's like has a bunch of stipulations to it. It's just a weird career to have like as many losses as he does because it feels like he's unbeatable when he's all there.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, dude, I like I said, I guess that's kind of my prediction is just sort of a feeling out and then probably in 3 rounds, 5, 6, explosions, and maybe it'll only be one where these guys just explode for 30 seconds to a minute and try to tag each other, and then that see who gets the best.
Yeah, man, what a fight, right? Like
Yeah,
just um you know, definitely could see what you're saying about it being timid at some points, but like I expect violence in here just because both these guys are like they love boxing and they love swinging in that pocket and like you said they're both fast as fuck. I think that Jan could piece him up boxing here like his counters are just so much cleaner and so much faster. I think at the same time, it's undeniable to say that Jan like it's scary betting on him, especially after his last
Mhm.
three fights, four fights for that matter. You know what I mean? It feels to me, I think he's got the grappling edge here too. If fight gets to the ground, Yudong is going to be bigger, maybe get some cage control time, but it's not like Yudong is some elite grappler, and we know that like for whatever did happen in that Marab fight, like Piotr Yan is an elite defensive grappler. For whatever happened in that round where he got triangled by Aljamain, right? Like
Yeah.
he is still an elite defensive grappler. Um, it's undeniable that weird things happen in this fight. I think that I took a bet on Yan at -125 because I thought the
All
line
right,
was
I'm doing it.
I
I
was
was
gonna
waiting
get
for the podcast.
well, dude, I thought the line was gonna move in favor. Like, I thought it was gonna get worse, right? Like, I thought Jan might close at like -140, -150. I was way wrong. I mean, it's moving the opposite way. You can find Jan at like -112 right now at some spots. Yeah, just wasn't expecting this. I just think that, you know, Jan is a better fighter, and obviously Yadong has scary power. And if you don't respect his power, he's gonna fuck you up. And it sometimes feel like Jan doesn't necessarily respect what's coming back his way from guys. I'd like kind of O'Malley caught him by surprise, for example. I think Barab
Mhm.
sure caught him by surprise. Um, but when it comes down to it, I just think Jan is still that guy. And this is like in hindsight, getting Jan at this number at like -112 or whatever could like it look like an awesome bet. But would not surprise me if it's a close decision, a split decision, or something greasy like that. Either way, just because we know what happens with Piotr Jan fights, and it's like kind of weird to think about. Like, what does Jan do here with a loss, right? Like, where does
Yeah.
he go from there? Like, is it PFL time for Jan? It's crazy to think about. I don't even know if
Crazy.
have 125 in PFL now that I think about it off the top of my head. But yeah, interesting. One,
Uh side
yeah,
side note, very random. Cheeto Vera and Song Yadong fought a while ago, and
yeah,
Song Yadong got the win, and I thought Cheeto Vera won that
I
fight very
agree.
clearly.
I
And
agree.
so you remember that fight. It's just
Uh,
kind of funny to think that like Cheeto in he technically has a win over O'Malley, and he pretty much beat Song Yadong, and Song Yadong missed weight in that fight as well.
yeah,
Um, I just think that's hilarious to think about because we're kind of not bagging on Cheeto, but saying he doesn't deserve the title shot. But yet it's like, damn, dude, he competes with these dudes.
yeah. You're right.
Um,
You know, it's funny too. Kyler Phillips on this card has a win
yeah,
over Song Yudong as well.
crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
uh,
But that's a lot of Yudong got in the UFC so early,
for
and he
sure.
was so raw. Credit to Uriah Faber, you saying how the line has moved towards Yadong. Uriah Faber knows how to promote his dudes, man. Like he has
Yeah,
been.
sure.
I have heard about Song Yadong since he walked in the UFC, and I had no intention on learning about him. It's just that Uriah, every time he had a chance, bring him up in an interview, like Team Alpha Male, blah blah blah. Cody Garbrandt's fighting this guy, but we got this guy Song Yadong coming up, and maybe that a lot more people know about him than maybe you thought, and that's what's dictating the line. Maybe a lot of more like casual fans know about Song Yadong.
Yeah, and it's interesting that and you say that it's like Uriah Faber got his ass kicked by Piotr Jan. But they
It's so
like
wild.
they know that like they've prepared for him before. You know what I mean? And they're
Right.
still preparing for him. And like yeah, interesting to see what their game plan is here, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of and interesting to see it. We talk about how when there's a lot of film out on guys, people start to figure things out. It's kind of it will be interesting to see here if there's something that team figures out here with Piotr Jan because aside from like grappling heaviness from that Ray Longo camp and a kind of a bullshit judges robbery against O'Malley, it's been pretty fucking hard to figure out Piotr Jan.
Yeah. Very true.
Good old fashioned battle of communism right here, dude. Doesn't get much better. I'm looking to fight as much as any on this card, honestly.
Yeah.
Right to the title picture, number one contender spot, in my opinion, for the winner.
Yeah. Well, then that's everyone. Umar, Corey, Marab, like everyone's in that mix. It's so crazy.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Good point. Yeah, cool, man. Moving along. That's everything for the main card. We'll touch on any of these prelims that you wanna. We'll start it off. Curtis Blades versus Jalton Almeida at a heavyweight. In the featured prelim. Who you got in this one, man?
I'm gonna go Blades. Um, I watched an interview of him. I just think he's such a like it's I like him. Like he's such a humble, nice guy. And then it's like he grew up a town over from us. He's pretty much our age. I think maybe he's a year older than us or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
He
it's
banged
like,
it. He went to high school with for sure.
yeah, yeah, right. I forgot we talked about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, he's just like a nice guy, and he's like, I don't know, he's got all the skills. It's just about something. There's always just been something like missing. It's hard to explain where he has all this. It's like almost he's a little too robotic when he fights. He's not free. And but yeah, matchup wise, I think this favors him. He's bigger than Almeida. He has better wrestling credentials, and considering Almeida's like path to victory is takedowns and ground game. That's gonna be interesting to see if Almeida can get the takedown. Because what if he can? That would be crazy. Because then I don't know if Blades is gonna know what the hell to do if he goes on his back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's the thing is like Blades, we just don't know a whole lot about him coming like off his back, and I do expect Almeida to like, I kind of accept him to be able to get Blades down if I'm being honest. Yeah, weird fight. I told you I was looking at a Blades bet, but I can't take him off the no bet list for this.
Oh, he's still
It's
on there.
just it's too greasy of a matchup, dude. Just because like, grades Blades probably does have a decent like path to victory with like getting on top and implementing some ground and pound, but like at the same time, I mean, he like couldn't get Jairzinho Rosenstruck out of there, you know. He wasn't really grappling a whole lot with Derek Lewis. He was winning that fight standing up until he got caught. But it's like, I just don't, that's the thing. I don't trust him standing up, even if I think he's better here. It's just, he's a little bit chinny. And, yeah, maybe he looks like some big hindsight favorite, but I think the UFC wants Almeida to win. And I think they've probably like gone, I just can't keep going to the well with Blades.
You have you
He's
have
won
gone to the well.
yeah, he's won me some money in some really good spots, like I can't deny. He's also like, the Pavlovich fight, and the Lewis fight were just like horrendous game plans for him, and I just don't like know exactly what he's gonna do here. So pass for I'm picking
Well,
up
it's like
a good win and passing from a betting standpoint.
on paper, Derek Lewis, if you look at the top 15, is like the easiest fight for Curtis Blades possible.
So ridiculous.
And he just got flatlined. So yeah, dude, it is crazy. And I forgot about the Pavlovich fight actually. That's so funny you bring that up because yeah, he just didn't even grapple him.
Yeah, and like he tried once, didn't like I feel like didn't like what he felt, and he was like, "Nope, I'm out, can't do that."
Yeah,
Like, and I feel like maybe something similar happens with Jalton, where he tries to grapple, maybe he isn't able to get on top or get the fight down as easy as he thought, and then he just kind of quits. I'm
yeah.
not sure, just can't trust Blades. Cool, man. Moving on, we've got a 125-pound women's matchup. We got Caitlin, formerly Chukagian. Her
Uh,
name is now Caitlin Sermonara. Some pasta dish taking on Macy Barber. Um, James, it's kind of a fun fight just because I think that like Sermonara likes to play that pitter patter kind of game, a really frustrating fighter to fight against. And Macy Barber is kind of just in your face, is going to be like, fuck you. I'm going to take some shots, get in the pocket, and we'll see what happens. Keep putting forward pressure on you. Um, yeah, dude, tough one to call here, honestly. Like, I want to say that I think Barber's gonna win, but I think I start Seminara like a plus 200 underdog. Um, and she's shown that she can make things plus 180, sorry, not quite plus 200. She just shown that she can make things difficult for people. And Barber, like I said, she marches people down. But she's had some really fortunate decisions go her way in the UFC against some competition who I think is not nearly as good you know, as Caitlin Sermonara Chikagian. So
yeah.
I'm gonna stay away from this one. I think too. My pick's gonna be Barber, but I don't like betting this one. Maybe Barber late if you think she's just gonna really walk her down, but I don't know.
Right. Dude, I think this is really interesting. I think part of the whole Macy Barber losing fights or like winning those questionable decisions, it kind of like I've said this before, but like sometimes judges giving a fighter fights is bad for their name. Like Sean O'Malley lost. I'm not gonna say he lost fans, but there was a lot of guys who are sort of neutral on him or maybe looking for a reason to hate him because they don't like his hair or whatever. And when that Peter Yan fight
Yeah,
happened, it was like perfect. Now I can just bag on him the rest of
dude.
his career.
So Patty Pimblett versus Jared Gordon.
Perfect
Yeah,
example. Perfect example where these neutral fans or these fans who are just looking, maybe they watch the sport because they don't want to like a person, which I do believe is true in many aspects. They kind of wait. So Macy Barber kind of got that early on. But I think she's had a similar career to Song Yadong. I think this will be like her coming out fight where she kind of just walks through Chukagian's like teep kicks and stuff. Chukagian's a lot older now. She's married, she's happy, whatever. And I could see Barber just like putting the pressure on and just like landing huge shots. And like really like putting a stamp on it because her last couple performances have been really impressive.
yeah. I think this is a good one. I think that will just tell us where she's at,
It's
and
like the Mackenzie. Sorry, it's like the when with Mackenzie Dern versus Andrade, right?
yeah, it'll tell you something.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, man, I love it. I do. I really like Macy Barber as a fighter too. Like, I think she could be champ too. She just has kind of
Mm-hmm.
a tough style to deal with, like especially over 5 rounds. So it's just like she's got to kind of get herself to that position.
Right.
Cool, man. Moving along. Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos, 155-pound matchup. James, I feel like the UFC is kind of giving this fight to Gamrot to be like they're like, thank you for being the backup fighter in Abu Dhabi. We're sorry that we made you be the backup fighter and then ended up choosing Alex Volkanovski. Here's 4,000 years old RDA that you can take down and spam takedowns on. It's kind of how I feel like this fight's gonna go. I think it's a good spot for Gamrot. I've I've talked on all our podcast episodes. I've been doing a lot of parlays with Gamrot just to get him at plus money over the year. So I have like 6 or 7 units riding on him at like plus money, which is nice. So I've set up a little hedge opportunity with RDA because I mean the line now it's like plus 350 for RDA, something like that. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Um we have seen Gamrot lose close fights. We've seen close fights go his way, but nonetheless, he seems to have a lot of close, greasy fights. And in some of like, backing him as a big favorite against Beneil was a mistake. Backing like against Guram Kataladze, that was a mistake. We've just seen him. He has had some greasy, close decisions that where he doesn't cover his price tag. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried about that now as I sit here and see him at minus 480. But like I said, not too worried about it. Got the hedge opportunity. What do you think of this fight, man?
I'm with Gamrot. I think RDA is just a little too old, and I think that Gamrot's style similar to Colby Covington, right? Like also in his prime, very different personalities, by the way, but
Sure.
similar fighting style, and seeing what, and also similar weight. Like RDA is going to be like it wasn't like even though Colby fights at 170 in that RDA fight, even and it was a while ago, but it wasn't like Colby was way bigger or anything. They're about the same size, and Gamrot and RDA will be right around the same size, if not Gamrot's a little bigger. So yeah, dude, I think you're pretty safe right now. That's just my honest opinion. Just because of RDA's age and the pace Gamrot can put on, and sure RDA can get like I really don't see like him getting a W in this. I really
Yeah,
don't.
it's like does he catch Gamrot in some like, you know,
A wrist lock?
like some I don't know, like yeah, like it's hard to see where he wins. Like it just keeps coming
Right.
back to like Gamrot seems to like sometimes make things harder on himself than they need to be. But yeah, I don't know. I've had a good read on RDA fights too. I was like looking at my betting history. I think I've won like something like 9 or 10 units on him like over these years.
Hmm.
Had a huge bet on Luke A to beat him. Yeah, just I think that, Gamrot, it's his time. And the last thing I'll say too is like Gamrot isn't some super young prospect anymore, right? Like he's
Right.
33. So this is kind of his now or never. So I think he's like all in. I think he's like ideally he has a smart game plan. Doesn't make things more difficult than they need to be and just puts a pace on RDA because that's how you beat him.
Yep. Yep. Same here.
Cool, man. Moving along here, we've got Pedro Munoz taking on Kyler Phillips, 135-pound matchup. James, any strong thoughts on this one?
No strong thoughts, I mean, but it is a great fight, especially for a prelim fight. I It's hard for me to go with Kyler Phillips. I think that like he's Pedro Munoz comes out with great game plans, and even though he's old, and even though he lose tends to lose these close fights, like against Frankie Edgar and against Cheeto, and then he had the weird Sean O'Malley fight. It's like he won. You could make the argument he beat Cheeto. You could make the argument he beat Frankie Edgar. You could make the argument like I think he definitely won round one against Sean O'Malley. So it's like
Yeah,
the guy
sure.
comes up with game plans. Like he figures out ways to like sort of keep himself in the fight. And Kyler Phillips is as exciting as it gets, but not doesn't seem like a game plan guy. You know what I mean? He seems like
Yeah.
he's got every trick in the book, but sometimes it's like you don't need to use every trick. Sometimes you just need to jab and low kick a guy, and you'll finish him with by doing that. It'll set up a left hook or a cross, or it'll set up a head kick. And like, but sometimes you just need to do a couple things right to set up one or two, those finishing moments
Yeah.
where I feel like Kyler Phillips is just like pressing every button on the controller. You know what I'm saying? So,
Absolutely. Great,
and he
great
gasses
breakdown.
right, and he can press every button, which is very impressive. He has every tool in the book, like on the ground as well. He's very good on the ground, but he'll do all this crazy shit, then he'll gas a little, and then he'll lose the second round, and then the third round will be a little gassed, and then it's too close to call, and then he loses. And it's like, dude, you look so much better than that guy. Why'd you lose?
Dude,
So,
yeah, Pedro Munoz, like how he fights, like he's so skilled, dude, and does have
mhm,
good game plans. It's like he doesn't finish them off.
right,
Um It reminds me of like Alex Perez against Muhammad Makayev last week, where you feel like the fight is there, the round is there for them to take and decisively make theirs if they would just be a little bit more active, do a little something more offensively, throw a little bit more volume. It's just like Pedro has that issue, dude. It's like he doesn't. It feels like it's literally rounds are just like slipping through the cracks of his fingers because he's
yeah,
not throwing like a few more strikes, or putting like a little
a
bit more
stamp.
offense together. Yeah, exactly. Putting a stamp on it.
Yep.
So, man, it's tough. In a way, I want to bet Pedro here because we've also seen Phillips like slow down pretty bad in fights. We've seen that dude pop for steroids too. So it's like, who knows if that, a lot of his early success in the UFC had to do with his PED use.
Maybe, yeah.
Just one of those things, it's tough fight to call. If I had to pick a side, like I'm leaning towards the Munoz side, honestly, but not super confident in a 37-year-old Pedro Munoz who has problems like decisively pulling away in fights.
Right, right. Yeah.
Going with the
But yeah,
underdog, but no bet.
right. Exciting fight though, nonetheless. And good chance for Kyler Phillips to show out, and good chance for Pedro Munoz to just keep his name in the mix.
Keep getting a paycheck.
Keep getting the paycheck. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Cool, man. Moving along here, there's really only one more I feel, I really want to discuss. Michelle Pereira versus Michael Oleksiejczuk.
Yep, yep.
What do you think about this one, man?
I think Pereira. I think I got Pereira. I think this is at 185, correct?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I think Pereira looked really fast, and I think he's a guy who's, was too big at 170, and he'll benefit from moving up. Um, Once you go up against the big dogs, you do have to kind of add a little bit of mass, like a la Sean Strickland. Like he
Sure.
he's added enough mass over the time at 185 to where now he's like not super outsized by anyone. I think Pereira will have to do the same thing, but he's like, I think his speed is impressive at 185. So I think it was a really smart decision for him to move up. He is a low IQ fighter, that is undeniable,
Sure.
but he is I think that it was a good move up. I think he's taking his career more seriously, like of recent. And yeah, I think the way that Pereira throws wild shit like Oleg, I gotta butcher the name, Oleg Zachek. Third round will be interesting if it gets there.
Yeah,
If it gets to
agreed.
the third round,
Agreed.
that'll be very like if it gets to the third round, I think Oleg Zachek might finish him. That would be definitely the side I'd lean on, but I just don't think it's going to get to the third round. Or it's going to be like such a beat down that by the time it gets to the third round, it's going to be like you know,
Boring kind of third round.
yeah, just a done deal type deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I kind of view it the same as you. Old Zajac just seems like when he hits a certain level of competition, he kind of
Yeah.
struggles against. I think Pereira is probably just about at that level. But yeah, it absolutely like I think Oleg Zajac late is an interesting look for sure.
Hmm.
Just because again, yeah, we've seen Pereira slow down pretty bad too, right? Against guys a lot smaller than this. So very fun fight though.
Yeah, dude. Very fun fight. Yeah. All the fights, even the fights that were not like really going over, what is it? Real quick, I gotta look at it.
Kutalaba versus Lins is a hilarious fight.
Oh, Kutalaba versus Lynn's hilarious fight. That is one that I do not care about.
Not just like the unbelievably low IQ between both those guys in that fight.
Hey,
It's
but
yeah,
they'll swing for us, dude.
yeah,
They'll do what. But I did want to mention Robles Desponge making his
sure, sure.
debut, dude. Crazy like prospect, I guess. Even though he's 35, but you can be a prospect at 35 in heavyweight. Um, I'm really excited to see what this guy does and to see if it translates. I do think it will translate against Parisian, but uh, I'm just excited to see like what his ground like. What if Parisian takes him down and this guy looks like a white belt of all white belts? Like because his last three
Yeah,
fights
sure.
have lasted 19 seconds. That's insane. So
The
yeah, that's
UFC giving him Parisian though as his introductory fight, it tells you what they want to happen for sure.
it is
Yeah,
you don't need to hear anything from Dana White or McMahon or Shelby,
yeah.
or you don't need to hear anything. You know exactly what they want. They want this Cuban Taekwondo 6'7" like dude, explosive as all hell. Like they want him up in those rankings quick.
Absolutely.
Yep.
James, I guess I'll just touch real quick on this one while we're here.
Yeah,
CJ
yeah,
versus Asu Almabayev.
yeah,
Almabayev, he's like really aggressive at getting the takedown. Good top game. Like his thing is he's like gonna go to try to take your back. That's what he tries to do. Almost without fail. Against CJ Vergara, like I think he could have some success doing that, but Vergara is like pretty decently well-rounded. He's not horrible, but he does like some tricky shit off his back to get fights back to the feet. And like I think he's gonna look a lot bigger than this dude here. Like this guy Asu Amabayev, like it's a 125-pound fight, but he's noticeably small in most of these fights still
yeah.
against the guys he's fighting against. Um, so I don't know. Vergara's like plus like 425 or something like that right now. I wouldn't blame someone for like taking a shot at something like Vergara by decision or something like that. Because I think that this fight could be a lot closer than this line suggests. It's really just going to be like, can Almabayev hold him down or take his back? Yeah,
Yeah, dude. I had to watch some Amabayev like fights just to see what was going on, and Vergara is interesting. He's got a lot of heart. Like maybe not the most talented, but like you
sure.
said,
Or like athletic.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Athletic. That's what I should say. Skilled though. And yeah, Amabayev. It's like he's one of those guys where I really am not going to be able to tell what he's going to be. Um, like unless he loses this fight, then I'm going to be able to tell. But like it's going to be hard to tell because he just reminds me of a guy who could be super like gonna round out his striking, and then with his like he could be one of those guys like an RDA, like a
He has a
where
really good base. Yeah.
yes, where it's
Sure.
like RDA is a guy where you can't really point to a physical talent to like you can't really point in any direction as to why he was a champion, but he was. Like that's what I feel like with this dude. So I need to I'm gonna have to watch him 2 or 3 times.
Steroids.
Yeah, steroids. Yeah, that's a good point. But that's hilarious. But
Hey,
yeah,
Almabayev might be on that same path, right? So
maybe,
the same
hey,
type.
maybe he'll
Yeah,
be a lot bigger than Vergara in this fight. That would be
yeah,
funny.
we'll see.
But yeah, dude. And then since we named them all, I'm going for Joanna Wood to open up the card. I want her to win, and I think she will.
Another greasy fight like that, yeah, like with the Chikagian one, like the plus 200 is tempting. It's just like these are
Yeah,
they're the older girls of the division, and it's tough to bet against like these new up and comers. But yeah, I mean Marina Moroz at minus like she's like looking at minus 230 now. I don't know. Like I know they fought way back in the day, and Marina got an armbar, but it's just like I don't know.
yeah.
I'm going with Joanne Wood too. Fuck it.
Good.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
ride.
go. Let's roll. Hey,
I'll text you. I'll text you if I have any other crazy bets or parlays or whatever
yeah, sounds
that I
good.
cook up.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate it. Good luck with your bets this weekend. I think potentially on Friday I'm gonna be hopping on one of my buddies' podcasts. So I'll keep y'all posted if I'm gonna hop on Actions podcast or not.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, cool, man. All
Oh,
right.
dude. You know what?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
sure.
Real quick, I gotta ask. Francis Ngannou versus Anthony Joshua. Are you gonna watch or
Is that Friday, right?
it's
Instead of
Friday
Saturday?
at like I want to say it's at like 5. It would be maybe 6 p.m. your time.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm around, I'll definitely watch it. I'm not going to plan around it though. You know what I mean?
I
But
feel you.
I'm interested to see what do you think? How do you think that plays out?
I think I saw Ariel posted something and I saw it and I put a comment out. Like I was just like, I could eat my words really bad here, but I think Francis knocks him out within the first 7, 8 rounds.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and I really think that, which is crazy.
Sure,
And like
sure.
I said, I could eat my words bad here, but I really think he's gonna knock him out in the first 7, 8 rounds and like just take the top off.
I'm not a big boxing guy, but is Anthony Joshua, is he like super hittable?
He's hittable when he it's really hard to say. He's a promoter's dream. Like he's good looking. He's got the 8 pack. He's six
Yeah,
five.
sure, sure.
Um,
Olympic,
and
Olympic boxer, right?
well spoken, educated. Um, total promotional upbringing, I guess you could say,
Yeah,
and did well, I think, in the Olympics. But something about him, he's a little stiff. He's a little stiff, and to see Francis, and I believe that if Tyson Fury and Francis fought again, I think Tyson Fury would maybe. I mean, I think we'll see how this fight goes, but I think Tyson Fury would beat him bad in a boxing match. I think that Fury kind of wanted to like swing and bang with Francis, and he couldn't do it. Like he,
yeah. It didn't
you
look
know what
like
I
he was in super good shape for that fight
mean?
either. Like
Right,
something serious. He was taking his camp.
right. There's a different mentality. I believe
Yeah,
he was
absolutely.
training, but there's a different mentality. Um, so yeah, Joshua's a little stiff, man, and Francis has a crazy chin. And with boxing gloves, I feel like his chin's crazy. And Joshua can jab and circle, but I don't think that's enough to keep Francis off of you. And then when Joshua is forced to engage, he likes to swing and he'll leave himself open. That's how he lost to Andy Ruiz. So yeah, dude, I
Yeah,
think Francis
fair.
is gonna pull it off.
Cool, man. All right, dude. Well, I'm excited,
All
man.
right,
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.
all right, man. I'll see you.